Ayo, back at it again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So, this is a video about the Big Ten aggressively pursuing some really solid football programs. So, four from the ACC: Miami, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech. Notre Dame been kind of the white whale of the conference for a long time. I added Texas A&M in there because the Aggies have shown before that they want to move conferences because they don't like the Longhorns. It sounds unrealistic until, you know, you think about it a little bit and you're like, oh, that actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. This is my dream scenario for the Big Ten at 24 total members. Currently at 18. Yeah, Notre Dame at 19. A&M, you steal them from the SEC. That would be such. That would just make my heart really, really complete. Um, Miami, Florida State, get you a presence in the state of Florida, get you into Atlanta with Georgia Tech, and then Clemson. They've not been as dominant in football the past 4 or 5 years, but consistently a pretty dominant force in college football. So yeah, this is my dream scenario for the Big Ten at 24. Currently at 18, 19, and 20, Notre Dame, A&M, and then you add the four really big football brands of the ACC. There's a lot of other schools that I'm sure the Big Ten would be interested in the ACC, probably Virginia, North Carolina, and maybe even Cal and Stanford. But I think these are the four that the Big Ten, I think, is going to really be aggressive in pursuing, especially for TV media rights deals, especially your Florida State and Clemson, your two pretty dominant football brands of the ACC. Miami just made a national championship appearance against Indiana. Georgia Tech always has some pretty good ratings, especially against Georgia. They had a pretty solid year this year, actually, in football. A&M always good. This Notre Dame A&M game this year was really, really fantastic. So again, my dream scenario for the Big Ten at 24. The Big Ten has always been aggressive in expansion. You look at the first two that they added, Penn State and Nebraska. Penn State in the 1990s, Nebraska in the early 2010s. Two pretty dominant football programs. Nebraska has been pretty average at best lately. Penn State's always a dominant force in TV viewership, but James Franklin always came up just a little bit short in the big games. Maryland and Rutgers mostly for the TV markets of New York City and Washington, D.C. And then your four new brands on the West Coast. Your really dominant football powers of USC and Oregon. UCLA has kind of been struggling lately in football. Washington's pretty good once every 5-10 years. But yeah, the Big Ten has always been pretty aggressive in expansion, whether it's the first couple in Penn State and Nebraska, those were more football based. Maryland and Rutgers were more for TV markets. And then the four new brands of the Pac, of the old Pac 12. But yeah, I think this would be really, really great, especially if you were able to get Notre Dame into either a scheduling agreement or potentially, a some sort of member in some capacity. I think that'd be a great addition, especially getting into the states of Texas, getting the states of Florida, Georgia. Really great for recruiting. Um, Makes a lot of sense, especially when the Big Ten is looking for really premium matchups because you have three media partners. So you have Fox, you have CBS, and you have NBC. And there's a lot of premium matchups already with a lot of the brands that they've added. And then Ohio State, Michigan, even Indiana, that's kind of been really dominant the past couple of years. But there's a lot of mouths to feed, especially for your media partners. So if you're the Big Ten, you're probably looking at a lot of premium brands for football, especially left on the table. So let's head over to the Power Conferences Wikipedia page. So there are four conferences. I don't think the ACC survives too much longer as a power conference. Unfortunately, as much as I love the ACC, I think they're the next on the chopping block, unfortunately. So the map, So the Big Ten's mostly in the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, recently expanded out to the West Coast. But if you can get a school in Texas, a school or two in Florida, Georgia, and in this scenario I have Clemson as well, but you can definitely get into that Southeast, which is growing pretty rapidly. I'm sure the Big Ten's also interested in Virginia and maybe Duke or UNC. I don't see the Big Ten interested in NC State. I'm sure the SEC probably wants to expand into Virginia, North Carolina as well. I think UNC and NC State probably are a package deal to the SEC. Same with Virginia and Virginia Tech. I think that's kind of what the SEC is focusing on because they already got a lot of their premium football brands, especially with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas last go around. I think the SEC is focused more on expanding into North Carolina and Virginia. I think the Big Ten is focusing more on brands, especially for football. I could potentially see the Big 12 losing a couple, especially the four corner schools. I don't know. I think the Big Ten is probably focused more on eyeballs this next go around. I could definitely see the Big Ten interested in Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona, maybe to a certain extent Cal and Stanford, and maybe Virginia and Duke. But I see them this go around focusing mostly on football brands. And, these are the four in the ACC that are the really big football brands. The two big ones, Florida State and Clemson. Georgia Tech and Miami also have really, really great ratings. If you can pull Notre Dame and if you can steal A&M from the SEC, this is my dream scenario for 24. Imagine the premium matchups that you could pull: Notre Dame versus Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, A&M going up to Notre Dame, A&M going out to the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, USC, Georgia Tech going, maybe staying in the Southeast, going to Clemson, Miami, Florida State, but also going up to other Atlantic Coast schools like Maryland and Rutgers, and Florida State going into Michigan or Penn State or Ohio State or Indiana, Clemson going out to the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, even, that would be a really solid matchup. Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, a whole bunch of different matchups that you can pull from. A lot of premium matchups, especially if you're looking to pull in another media partner. You're already at 3. Do you move to 4? Do you pull in a big streamer like Amazon or any one of these big streamers? I think the more premium matchups you have, the more money you bring in, and especially with these 6 to get you up to 24, that would be huge. If you're up to 24 with that, and then you can maybe focus on getting schools out west, your four corner schools, Cal, Stanford, maybe Virginia and Duke, to get you up to 30, 32. I think that's, again, 24 is probably where they're going to go to next. I don't see the Big Ten going to 20. I think you need a little bit more than 20 to really get the media rights deal that they're looking for. You already signed a 7-year, $7 to $8 billion. Next go around, you're probably looking at probably a 5 to 7 year contract worth 10 to 15 billion, maybe. Depends on how many premium brands you can pull in. Depends on how many media rights, media broadcasters you can pull in as well. The Big Ten has always been aggressive in expansion, and I could definitely see the Big Ten making some aggressive moves next go around. Florida State and Clemson already won out. Georgia Tech, Miami makes a lot of sense. You have 4 that can really be travel partners: Notre Dame, A&M bring in for 25 and 26. With that, that's my dream scenario for the Big Ten at 24. And that's the end of the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.